Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another video. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. Today we're going to be talking about Timo Werner, David Luiz and Jadon Sancho. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, hit that like button because it helps out the videos as well. But let's get into it firstly with Timo Werner, the RB Leipzig striker. Kicker in Germany have reported that Chelsea have made direct contact with Leipzig over the striker. Werner has been linked to Chelsea previously, especially in the January transfer window when we were talking about potential targets. Dembele was another one. Of course, Chelsea didn't make any moves in the January window. So it's hard to tell how serious Chelsea were over Werner. And of course, that sort of died down in terms of Chelsea being linked to him. It's more Liverpool, and Liverpool being really interested in bringing Werner to the Premier League. And I can see why, because the type of forward Werner is, very modern, very versatile, could potentially play anywhere alongside a front three. You get the sense Klopp could figure something out where Firmino could still play in that starting 11. So I can see why, of course, they'd want him to bolster their options if they do win the Premier League title and want to go again next season. But in terms of Chelsea, we all know Chelsea are looking for a striker this summer. They're going to probably want one. And we've talked about a number of options. Moussa Dembele, who I think is probably still, for me, in terms of the sources I trust, top of the list maybe, in terms of Chelsea, who they're really going to go for. And Werner definitely could be another one in terms of those top names you're thinking of this summer to really strengthen your squad. And Lautaro Martinez, which we've spoken about before, I've spoken about a lot on the channel, and his sort of, I think, hefty fee he probably cost the most in truth. And I know a lot of people are excited about Martinez, but I think Dembele and Timo Werner could be cheaper and could be better players. And you look at what Werner and specifically Leipzig have done, in terms of prying Werner away from Leipzig, it might be a tough thing because just before football was suspended, Leipzig were doing so well in the Bundesliga. They just easily swatted aside Tottenham in the Champions League and knocked them out. And the style of football under Nagelsmann, really exciting. Of course, even Ampadu went there this year. So he would know, of course, Timo Werner playing alongside him. I would obviously like Werner. I think he'd be a really good addition. How that would act with Tammy, it would provide really good competition, as Dembele would, as Martinez would, as even Dries Mertens would. Let me know your opinions on Werner. Do you think he'd be a great addition to Chelsea? Do you think he's more likely to go to Liverpool? Let me know in the comments below. Next, I want to talk about a former Chelsea player in David Luiz. He gave some quotes to ESPN Brazil this week. He was talking about his time at Arsenal, his difficulties at Arsenal, but also shedding light on his departure from Chelsea, his sudden departure. Now, before we get into any of this, I just want to give you his quotes. He said, "I was very happy at Chelsea and in the understanding of knowing that my cycle was over, even though I thought it wasn't going to end that way in a quick decision. I decided to leave Chelsea before I even had the door open at Arsenal, but I'm going because I want something new for my life. I want to learn, not only in terms of adaptation, but taking the criticism, the sadness of many Chelsea fans for not understanding my personal decisions. My respect and love for Chelsea has always been true." David Luiz, it's an interesting case, isn't it? Because I think fans and you guys watching the video will be split on David Luiz in terms of your feelings towards him. If you go back and watch my video way back in August, seems so long ago now, when he moved to Arsenal, the day it happened, when he moved so suddenly, my reaction was that I thought that although it was really frustrating, the timing, I thought it was a good move for Chelsea because I thought it would give Chelsea the opportunity to promote maybe a Fikayo Tomori. I thought it would give Tomori a better chance to get more minutes under Frank Lampard. And I thought that in terms of Luiz and his career, he was maybe past his best. And Chelsea maybe reinvesting in the squad and giving more minutes to younger players. And I think Chelsea have been proven right. I think they have. Yes, we've had difficulties this year with defence and understanding what best defence there is, but I still think Luiz wouldn't have sorted that out. Yes, Luiz on his day was a brilliant centre-back, but I think, you don't want to keep a player that didn't want to be here. And I think we'll never know truly what went on in a discussion between Frank Lampard and David Luiz. Frank Lampard made it pretty clear that the reasoning was, he wants to make a meritocracy, and that's what he's done. That was before a ball had even been kicked in the Premier League. And there was maybe a sense that Luiz was demanding first-team football and Frank Lampard wasn't willing to assure him that. And Luiz, I remember saying this in the video as well, maybe saw the writing was on the wall, really. He wasn't going to be a first-team player long-term. And I think what you've seen with his time at Arsenal is Arsenal's not the best place for defenders to go. I don't think they set up very well to protect defenders and protect their goal. But at the same time, you've seen him really deteriorate this year. And he's been under some difficult circumstances. That's what he talks about in the interview as well. just in terms of my opinion about David Luiz, you know, I don't sort of harbour any real negative feelings towards him. I think you just got to go in a harsh light day, and I think it's similar with Jose Mourinho, understanding modern football, understanding players that they're going to move. You know, they're going to move for professional reasons. Staying in London clearly means a lot to David Luiz, and it was the only top 6 club that were going to give him minutes other than Chelsea, and get into a first team. So I could see why he'd move there. And, you know, I always say this, I think that, you know, those memories for me of David Luiz being a great character at Chelsea and all the highs he had at Chelsea don't get extinguished. And I thought a lot of the sort of the ranting and the anger at the time from certain people, from certain Chelsea fans, I just think was unwarranted, and I think sort of went overboard. I think, yes, it's frustrating seeing him going to a rival, of course, a rival like Arsenal. But at the same time, I think we got the best years of him, and I think that's been proven, and I think will be continued to be proven. Listen to the way Arsenal fans think about David Luiz. He hasn't been that transformative player. They still want to invest in that area. They're going to need to. You know, he got sent off against us, and I think that actually helped Arsenal that night. So, you know, all the best to David Luiz in his future endeavours, basically. And, you know, I sort of harbour no bad feelings towards him, and just sort of maybe shedding a bit more light onto it. I think the most frustrating thing was the timing, really. It was the fact that he left so suddenly, you know, and the fact that he's given these quotes that he'd already made his mind up to me is strange, because if you remember, he signed a 2-year extension in May. So it very much felt like he'd committed to Chelsea. Chelsea weren't sort of used to giving players of his age that level of contract, but they did. And then a couple months later, he's deciding to leave, literally a couple of days before the season started, which just seemed to me a bit ridiculous, really. If he made up his mind, why stay at Chelsea? Why not kick up a fuss? I mean, maybe he was, but that seems like a bit of a contradiction to me. But he left. Fikayo Tomori and players like that got more minutes, so happy days. And we move on. That's pretty much it. But let me know your opinions on David Luiz's departure, his time at Chelsea, in the comments below. And also Jadon Sancho, his name being brought up once again, his imminent move, potentially to the Premier League, potentially somewhere else. And of course, we heard Manchester United apparently were getting closer to signing Jadon Sancho. But David Ornstein in The Athletic has sort of halted those claims by saying the winger wants to move to only a Champions League club. He prefers a club in the Champions League. Of course, if the season gets voided, potentially Man United won't be in the Champions League, which will really halt their move for Jadon Sancho. And considering the current situation, the current pandemic, where we don't even know when football is going to restart, how all of that is going to shape up, and we've spoken about how that could affect transfers and teams spending a lot of money in the summer, how that could be restricted, effects on any transfer, but especially a transfer of this size that is going to cost this much. You know, we've heard the rumours of 400 grand a week, a major deal to get Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. Champions League football, I think, is key. I think it always has been. I would say Man United is probably one of the only clubs in world football that could get a player like that without Champions League football. If you remember, they got Paul Pogba without Champions League football to return to the club. So I could see that. You know, we've heard before from Matt Law that Chelsea need Champions League football if they want to get a player of Sancho's fee. This is going to be a big deal. We've known this for many months now. Big clubs are going to be going after Jadon Sancho. To get a deal of that magnitude over the line is not going to be easy by any stretch for either Chelsea or Man United. So we just have to wait and see. Of course, let me know your opinions on Jadon Sancho in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea. And I'll see you again.